I'm going to show you one feature of the scene panel, the scene properties. That's called cross-section. I've mentioned before that you can't do what's called an internal constraint on a preset mesh. You can't put a hole inside it, but you can slice it open. And you do that using the cross-section feature. To follow along, go to Working Files and go over to the Photoshop projects and open up cross-section. We have 3 layers here. We're going to work through them one at a time, starting off with this sphere, just a standard sphere. Just press the V key here to get the selection tool going. Click on that once, click it again, and you see we just got this little preset here with the bricks. Now I want to slice this guy open, so I'm going to go here to Scene. Now the scene applies to every single mesh you've got here, so you can't slice open individual meshes. It does every single one at once. Now there's the scene, and now there's the cross-section checkbox. If I click on that, it'll slice it up right off the bat. By default, it cuts it along the x-axis, and it cuts it at the 0 point. Here's the x-axis, the red one, and the 0 point's right there at the intersection. So it slices it right there perpendicular to the x-axis. That's what that means. If I go to offset, I can change where it slices it. If I go positive, it means it's going to move it to the right here, positive direction. Go left, it goes like that, to the negative direction. You go back to about 0 there, more or less. If I want to slice it on a different axis, I can go to the y-axis, for example. That'll be cutting it along here, perpendicular to the y-axis. Over there, like that. Cuts it right there. And again, I can adjust the offset. Cut a little bit like so, or a lot. If I cut a little bit like that, I can always rotate it and take a look at it. So I go over here, let's say, and this and rotate it like so, and there's that little hole down inside there. If I slice it on the z-axis, that's very much like slicing it on the x-axis, just that it's rotated around 90 degrees. Go over here to the z, and we'll slice it that way. Go like so and change the offset. Right now we're very positive, but I can pull it back like that. So I'll go back to the x-axis because that's the one that I think is easiest to see. And go back to about 0 here. If I want to turn things around, I can go down here and hover there and just twist it around. Look inside the globe. Look inside that little sphere there. Now what's this little gray thing here? That's a plane that's on by default. It's right there. A little plane. I can make it more opaque or less opaque. Change the color. Go over here and make it in, say, dark red, something like that to match our scene. Click on that. You might want to have a plane like that so that you can define the floor, for example. So I'll take the opacity up like so, and I could rotate the whole thing. You can see how that plane then could work with that sliced object if you want to have it that way. I'm going to turn it off, though, so we can see things inside there better. You can also add a color at the intersection right there at that little sliced spot. I'll turn it on like this. You barely see it. See the little black line showing up there? Change the color to something more obvious, like purple here, like that, and take a look. I have to really zoom in to see it. I'll do Control or Command plus a couple times, and you can barely see that little line there. You don't have to slice it from the right to the left like this. We've been going like this up to this point, like that. Do it the opposite side just by going down here and flipping it, like so. Also, you don't have to slice on a perpendicular basis to whatever axis you've chosen. You can tilt it. Notice with the x-axis chosen, you can tilt on the y and the z. If I change it to the y-axis, then you can tilt on the x and the z. And if I slice it on the z-axis, you can tilt it on the x and the y. I'll go back to the x-axis, and we can tilt it on the y, but tilting the y doesn't do much. It just kind of rotates it like so. Not much going on there. But tilting it on z is a little more interesting. You can see how that works. Doing it at an oblique angle like so. I think that's pretty straightforward. Let's go check out a wine bottle because it's not quite as straightforward because of all the curves on the wine bottle. Go down here one notch here and turn on the wine bottle. There we go. Let's go to its scene by first making the layer active. There you go. Clicking on the scene there. There's the cross-section checkbox. Click that. And immediately it slices it on the x-axis by default. Go over here and rotate around there a little bit. There we are. Looking inside the wine bottle. And again, we can adjust how far into the wine bottle we want to go here with the offset. Like so. But what's kind of interesting about the wine bottle is that you can do this oblique thing to it. Look over here and tilt it on the z-axis. You can see how we can sort of slice it like so if we want to. Kind of interesting. Let me just show you one little anomaly that happens when you do some cross-section, when you have some reflectivity on something before you slice it. I'll turn that off. I'm going to make the label material just a little reflective, just one little notch to the right there. Now I'll go back to Scene, and lo and behold, the cross-section is grayed out. You can't slice it when there's just a little bit of reflectivity. Not sure why that is, but that's just the way it is. I'll go back to the label here, and I'll make it unreflective. Go back to Scene, and lo and behold, there it is. We can do this again. And now I can go back to the label, and now I can make it reflective. No problem at all. I could reflect an environment off there or something like that. Let's go down one more notch here. I want to show you a little surprise. This guy here. Now, up to this point, when we sliced something open, what we saw inside was the other side of the same thing. We saw basically the same texture map or the same texture file, which can be a little disconcerting. Maybe you don't want to see, let's say, the Earth on the inside of the Earth. You might want to see something else. So I've done that in this particular case, and I'll show you how to do this in an upcoming lesson. I'll just give you this example now, though. There's the Earth. Let's go over to Scene here and click on Cross Section. And now it's going to slice it. You can see it sliced it from the back there because I just want to have a little bit of drama here, right? I'm going to now rotate it to the front. Right there, there it is. Now I'll click and drag it to the front. And what do we have inside here? We have Mars inside here. Cool. You've always wondered what was inside the Earth. Well, now you know it's Mars that's inside the Earth. And how did I get it in there? Well, I'll just give you a brief description. I made one sphere and made it the Earth. I made a second sphere and made it Mars. And then I made it 99% the size of Earth. And then I merged them together. And then they just kind of went inside each other like that. It's very simple to do that. I'll show you how to do that in an upcoming lesson. So there you have it. That's how I use the cross section to slice open any 3D object.